so much to do, so I always feel like I don't know.
Yes, I worked and I tested the audio too. Good to go. All right, I want to welcome everyone to the Wellness Committee here on October 19th, 2023. And I want to thank each and every one of you who had so much to do with last year's wellness initiative, updating the policy. And the policy was approved over the summer. And so now we get to take this document and actually put it into action. And we'll be using Rhode Island Healthy Schools Assessment Tool as a first stepping stone to see how our schools align with the current wellness policy. And Karen, would you like to explain a little bit more about the assessment tool?
Sure. So that is a requirement, right? You know how hard work it was to draft and reach consensus and approve a policy, but honestly, the most important part is to see how that policy is being implemented in all the schools. And I would say maybe even a piece before that the committee could talk about is like communication, because a policy can only be like followed if you know about it and you're aware of it. So I think talking a little bit about that, and we have some examples from other districts on, you know, how do we make sure that staff and families and students themselves are aware of it, and maybe put it in a more digestible. Reading policy isn't often what people do, sit down and go through a policy manual. But then it is required, the USD requires that districts review at a minimum every 3 years, and this is actually in your policy, review that implementation and how is that going in your school. So we created a tool, an easy to use one. There are on our website links, and you could go through that. We have a whole page that talks about monitoring and reporting, and there are some national tools, but the tough thing about those, I think that they're a lot more challenging to use, and they don't reference our state laws and regulations, which we need to be aware of here in Rhode Island. So we created this pretty easy checklist. It's just a rubric. It can be done as a Google Doc, so you can have numbers of people sharing into it. And it's done by school, because we know that you guys have several, like, for example, elementary schools and 2 middle schools. And so what might be happening in one school may not be happening at another school. So you can't do it district-wide, because it's school by school. So, and it's also at a school, there's not one person. A lot of times people say, send it to the principal. Principal doesn't necessarily know everything. Principal's going to have to reach out to a nurse and to food service and maybe to a PTO. How is this going? You know, all of the areas of policy. So everybody can contribute to it, and it's just, like I said, a rubric. Are you meeting the standard? Are you exceeding it? Or do you need help? It doesn't go anywhere. We don't, you know, evaluate it. RI doesn't evaluate it. It's for your own use to see what are we doing well, and maybe could be shared and celebrated in our schools, and then what areas do we need improvement. And there's also a district summary. So if you wanted to, like reporting in a school committee meeting or something, you could, you just can put all of the scores into this summary sheet, and then you get a 1 page of the district. And it's just an easy way to kind of look and say, okay, because you can't address everything at the same time. You kind of have to decide, and maybe this committee would, what are the things that we may want to focus on after the first time you do the assessment for that year coming up. So.
My thought had been that if we were to do the assessment prior to the meeting January 18th, we would have some of that information to be able to see where we stand on things. When you mentioned about communication, and you said you had some examples, are you talking about like a cover sheet that would go out to everyone?
Yeah, there's like some districts.
That lets them know what it is.
They're kind of old enough, just to give you a sense,
yes,
and we'd be happy to help with that if, you know, you wanted to get. I think there's one that we help do, a lot of graphics, not heavy text. People don't read things. So it had, you know, just an example of something that could be sent out. And I think too, to put it in a positive light. This isn't the food police. This aren't people trying to, you know, ruin your kid's birthday or whatever. It's really, you know, I think to start off talking about you're trying to create a healthy school environment, so happy, successful kids, right? That's the whole point of this, and to sort of put it in a positive light. So they're on our website, which is rihsc.org. If you were to go on there, in the main menu, one of the tabs is Wellness Policy, and there's a drop-down menu, and one of them says Communicate and Educate. And if you were to click on that page, you know, inform, engage, involve. There are a number of things here, some resources, and then at the bottom are like, here's from Coventry, I think that was the one, a recruitment flyer. It's pretty old now, but it can give, you know, just an example of what you might be able to do. A wellness brochure. North Smithfield created a wellness brochure. East Greenwich had a guide. So just some examples that are on there that you could look at.
Okay, so something that would go out to the staff and community.
Yeah, and think about
prior
some
to
school
Do you go out to the
districts.
parents? Like, would it be something like the school would just send out to every kid to
Yeah,
bring
it could
home?
be.
You know,
That's
like
the thing to think about, whether it comes out from central admin or it comes out to the building administrators, that they're then to put it in, like back to school. Some districts have a check, like things that have to go to staff that get covered, like in that initial, and like that could be one of them. So, you know, discussion here, what you all think would be most appropriate, but those are some things to consider. But I think before, or at the same time, you certainly can assess. It's sort of like baseline current. Let's look at the new policy and, you know, kind of assess where we are right now. But I think with a new policy and just like a recommitment to the elements to it, it's good to get it out to everyone and you know, do it in a way. Certainly a link to the full policy.
Right.
But most people are not going to sit down
Right.
and really read the full.
Exactly. And also, when I looked at the assessment, our policy now is like meatier than the assessment, it seems, if that's the right word for it. Like, we have the social emotional learning.
Right, I'm glad you said that.
So
yeah.
I knew we were going to have to add something to what the assessment is. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you, Trish. I didn't think about that. So the requirement around the local wellness policy is from the USDA, and it really only focused on, I think we talked about that early on when we were writing the policy, on the nutrition and physical activity environment. They say at a minimum you must include these things. So remember when
So
we
that's
were
the
doing
minimum.
it, we were looking. But many districts today, I mean, all these committees are aware that mental health and social emotional development and other things are critical to comprehensive wellness. Some districts have separate policies, some put it into the wellness policy, but you're right. The assessment that we developed is only on those required provisions, those areas. So,
yeah, I had made a note that that was going to be something
Right.
we were going to have to
Right.
do in addition to that.
yeah,
But
there
Can
this
you
is
add
a
it
good
to
start.
the, like, is there a spot on your assessment to like add another thing? Like, we could manually add it?
Well, we're going to have to work on that part. But I also know if we're able to take the Rhode Island Healthy School Coalition's assessment, like, immediately and see where we stand, it's not something that's going to come up immediately. You know, we're not going to aggregate all the information all at once. Anyway, I'm going to have to reach out to people on that topic, to be honest with you, on how we would address that. Rob, any thoughts on?
No, I mean, I think Karen's point's a good one about like wanting to, you know, make sure this goes out.
Right. Oh,
In the
yeah,
right
the
way,
overall
yeah.
agenda, let people know it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's good. You know, I think it's good. I think it's good. Feedback is always helpful. You know, for where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
On that assessment, how would you designate for people to have access to it at each school, or like how, you know what I mean, like to add stuff? Because you're right, like if you put it just on the principal, I feel like
Yeah,
That's like you might not know
it
everything.
would, I would see it going, of course, top down from the principals, but the topics are communication. How is communication going forth within the building for wellness? Nutrition, education. Are the students receiving yearly grade appropriate nutrition education? Wellness promotions. Are we using smart snacks in the secondary schools? And student rewards and incentives. So there's topics like this, the food in the cafeteria, the meal program, classroom celebrations and events, physical education, physical activity. So from that, after school programs and fundraising, so you have these categories in the assessment. So a PTO would, a PTO is going to say, this is what our policy is. How do you see your fundraising plans for the year and things like that to make sure, to make sure, not to even make sure right now, to just see how do they align. And if they don't align, how are we going to get them to align? Where are we going to move forward to just tighten things up? So with that being said, certain things the nurse may have part of it. It'd be up to the building who would decide, you know what, Sherry, I want you to check on the nutrition education. Jackie, could you do fundraising? So within the building.
And then the principal would be the one that would input it.
Yeah,
otherwise people could start.
Right.
Yeah. So, and, they're used to doing, integrating these projects and initiatives in the buildings anyway, so it would go from them, and then they would be able to know who's the best person to gather this information.
And then
for each
they
building.
would input it into the tool.
Yeah, and then, we can aggregate it to the district and see what are the common denominators. Oh, here's something where, everyone's doing phenomenal in this area, but this school and that school, we can have best practices and we're going to be able to cross over with, and on the same light, areas where we're going to need to do some concentration as a whole, because if we're going to be able to, we have 3 schools where we're like, oh, we're not quite as strong as we want to be there, but it's 3 schools, we're going to want to focus on that particular initiative, so because now we've lifted up 3 of the schools, so we'll look at it as a district and we'll look at it individually once we have the information. Does that answer your question?
You can see here, even on it, there are 5 spots for names of people.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And right here it says, we have right in here on the introductory, this checklist can be completed by any persons at the school level who is familiar with school wellness curriculum, activities, practices, and programs. It is likely that no one person will be able to accurately address all content areas, so it is recommended that other knowledgeable school personnel, principal, food service staff, PE teacher, health teacher, school nurse, PTO leader, etc., be asked to contribute information and answers. So it's there, and you can then add in the people who have filled it out. And I might add, just in case anyone needs it, on the website, we do have a little video tutorial about how to do it in case there's any questions.
That's good.
Yeah, on how to complete it. But I do think it's kind of like a top. You send it to the principal, and then the principal, might say, okay, here's the team of people. And, you can just share it. So you need to save it, and it has that on there. Make sure when you go in there, you save it to your, hard drive and name it. And then you could, share Google Docs, send it out to people.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Sometimes it's a lot on the principal.
Oh,
right.
Right. Yeah, there's I know.
And I know we're having a shortage of secretaries of all this.
Yeah. So it could be absolutely
I just feel like
somebody,
they are a little
a
overwhelmed.
parent absolutely can help and do it.
Yes. And I agree with you, Sherry. Just even bringing this up to them, it's like another thing on their plate at the moment. So the more people that we can do as a team within the buildings, the easier it's going to be on everyone.
Yeah, just looking at this, I'm looking at this is the single school one. I mean, there's a lot of this that would be phys ed focused.
Yeah, there's tabs at the bottom.
Yep, I'm looking at those
and
tabs.
Maybe we can even, I don't know, Trish, or you wanted it done before, but even if we had it on the screen, but yeah, so the tabs at the bottom are the.
I can put it up on the screen.
You want to do that now?
Yeah,
Can we do that now?
that'd be great.
Okay. Because you're right, so you could say to someone, I'm assigning you this tab,
Yeah, that's what I would do,
See this?
speaking as a former
So
principal.
that's how you get,
Yes.
Well,
that's
Delegate.
right, I forgot about that.
so each of these, the communications tab, the food and
You heard
cafeteria
me, Rob,
tab.
I don't even wanna bring it
You
up.
know,
Yeah.
like you said, so here's
No,
the
that's what I would
PD
do.
No,
tab.
they,
You know,
yeah.
So it's only one,
because
two,
like,
three,
I look at it,
four,
like 3 of those tabs are phys ed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I was just saying, like, here,
Fundraising would be your
I love
PTO.
our new
Right.
principal and students,
Um,
but I do feel like.
Food in the cafeteria would be your
Yeah.
would be you.
Like, he doesn't, like,
You know, classroom celebrations, I don't know who
Newton's
that.
district.
But
Classroom
they figure it out.
celebrations,
Like, I feel like
that's gonna be case dependent, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was-
That's gonna be case dependent depending on the school, but then, and communication, that's the principal,
yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So you just kind of divvy it out.
Well, I even think some of it's funny, because I think all the elementary schools do this, but like we have a fundraiser, actually it was Mr. Rhodes' idea, like, oh, maybe we'll give like the class, the grade that raises the most gets an extra recess. Like even just doing like,
Yes, that's a
like
big.
that's kind of an easy way to just get it in,
Yes.
that's sort of sneaky, that kids don't really, you know,
Yes, that's a
where
great
they feel like they got
incentive.
rewarded and then, you know.
Yeah, and that, I
That's
think,
great,
I can't
yes.
remember your policy, but, you know, kind of the best practice language is to not use food always as this reward. Things like get an extra privilege, going outside for more recess, like,
Yeah.
that's a great, you know, reward.
Yes, non-food.
Yeah, or even
Extra recess is a great reward.
Yeah.
or even like we have, I don't know how many schools have, but we have a book vending machine that the Starbucks got last year, which is great because I feel like the kids can get a coin and like
That's exciting.
Right.
Yes, I'd go and buy it.
yes, like it's kind of cool. Like yeah, like I feel like it's a good reward
Yeah.
that's not a junky little plastic
So
thing
I have
or
to-
food.
Is that camera turned on the screen?
Yes, it's on.
Is it turned on the screen?
No, oh,
The only reason I ask is I gotta pull my email up here, which I sometimes worry about.
yep.
Let me see. Hold on. I can check it from my computer. just to make sure.
Oh, no, it's not on the screen,
Okay,
Rob.
thank you. I'm okay anyway. There's nothing.
Okay.
So this came from you, Trish, right?
Oh, you can
Yes.
just go on, if you wanna just go on rihsc.org, just do it straight from Google. rihsc.org. And then, okay, wellness policy. And then monitor, assess, and document and report at the very bottom. And scroll down just a tad, and there we are right there, there's the single school.
That's better. You all don't want to see my inbox. So.
No.
All right. Okay. Yeah, this is exactly right. All right. So yeah, what I was thinking was just from the perspective of a principal, right? Like communication. That's something that principals should be able to handle mostly. So that they would fill these. They would just fill these out, make a copy, fill them out.
Just make sure that every school puts it on their own hard drive and names it so that it's,
Right.
yeah, it's-
Oh, and then that's how you can generate for the school committee, like the rating, like the summary.
right.
Right.
You have to, for the summary, you have to then add all, and I can work with someone when we get there. If you get the,
Oh, and
yeah,
Compile.
yeah. You have to then put in the numbers, but this will give you a final page at the end.
What-
If you go over after PD. Okay, so if you see next steps, that's gonna give you your totals right there.
Will this do it automatically, or oh really?
Yeah.
What's
But
these,
not
Karen?
if
What's
you
these
add
locked
extra
things here? Is
tabs.
that an issue? Is that just because you have to make a copy?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I guess, yeah, we don't want the
You don't want
putting
Edit.
in.
Yeah.
more than
yeah,
this
because
stuff.
then it wouldn't all make a
Yeah.
copy.
Well, then it's everybody. This is a shared. Like you go in there, so every school you have to, save it.
So basically, you would just share this with the principals. They would make a copy for their school,
Correct.
fill it in, and then these results would kind of tabulate on their own
Yeah.
for this last one. Okay.
And just to remind people, like again, you're not looking to ding them on. Just be honest, right? It's just like
Yeah.
you want to just kind of get the lay of the land, be honest, and the idea is for this committee to support them, not to say, oh, you know what I mean? I just think that it's it's important to be positive. I don't want people to think that,
But you would have to add tabs for the stuff that we have in our policy that's not there in theory, and then you would have to recalculate all of those
I mean,
formulas to do that.
Yeah,
Or
but
else we
that
just-
would be something
I
we
think
would
you
have to do
something
separately as a
separate.
district,
Yeah,
but yes,
yeah.
we do have to do that.
But couldn't you just make like use this, but then making a separate one for the wellness, and then just have two, you know what I mean, like two different scorecards? You know, because we could still, you know what I'm saying, like two
Yeah.
different scorecards, then trying to combine it.
What would we have to add? What would we have to add?
Social, emotional.
Learning.
Social,
Oh, the social, okay.
But it might
I
not
don't
be
know
bad
what
to
else.
have like a breakout of the
And
social
staff,
emotional.
the staff wellness piece too, Rob. So Karen, let me ask you, would it be possible to get a template like, well, this is editable by us anyway, right?
We'll make a copy of it then.
Yeah,
we'll
make
do
a
whatever
copy
we
and
want.
then we could take the pieces from the policy
And
and use the
change
same
it.
format.
and the form, because
The
there's all
format.
formulas in there too, so, yeah. Just someone with good Excel, this is
Yeah.
all like
Good
Excel.
Excel, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And it might be
Okay.
almost better to have the wellness separate so that it's two different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the, what's this one? Oh no, that's the district one. And then if you go, back to the, website, out of this,
the other
over the other tab, and then go down to the summary, I just will show you that. So what you have to do here, so first, this is the cover that tells you what to do. If you look at district standards, those are a few things, that's mostly the like requirements around report, like this. District maintains an active wellness committee that meets at least 4 times annually. You know, district, so this is for the districts, so maybe Rob, that's someone like you, you know,
Yep.
you're the admin person. So you complete that, and then if you go to one of the tabs now, communication, here's what you do. You put your schools
Okay.
up top in that 1, 2, 3, like you list the schools, and then you do have to go in, and it's a, if you click on any of those cells, oh, maybe you have to add in a name first, because usually there's like a,
So, in other words, if, for instance, you put North Kingstown High School in
Yep.
there, it would populate.
No, you have to add them in from your individual.
From that
From the
school
individual.
summary,
Exactly.
that last
Okay.
Then
page,
it
we're gonna,
summarizes
all right,
it.
so
go
we-
to the very end, again, go to the last,
So this
Very
would
last.
do.
go at the bottom to the last tab. Okay, and go to next steps. That's where it's gonna populate the whole thing, see the
Okay.
district level standards. But somebody does need to put
yes,
them in.
yeah, well, there's a
But
certain.
So you gotta manually enter everything from the schools.
You
So
do.
you wanna do schools first, get all that,
Correct.
then go to this.
Yeah.
And you probably, if you knew someone good at Excel, they could link those
They could,
boxes
yeah.
to,
To each
Exactly.
other.
to like
To
the
the
other
other
files
files.
so
Yeah.
that it wouldn't be so,
Cumbersome.
I can't sound good at that,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
way to do it that I think would, then they'd all like merge together.
And then that just gives you, again, kind of an overall look, like, you know, some districts will look at it and say, well, you know, whatever percentage, 80%, we have exceed standards, or we only have what percentage or needs improvement. And again, it's not like failing, it's not, you know, it's just
Yeah, I
that's
just see
where
it
you
like
need some.
creating like a strategic plan
Right.
for,
And then
going
like we
forward.
put here, identify 2 to 3 successes that your district can celebrate and publicize, and identify 2 to 3 areas that your district can focus on for improvement.
Is there a timeline on this, Karen?
No, just the federal requirement is that it's done at a minimum triennial, so every 3 years, you're supposed to assess. I can't remember what you said in your policy, some
Yeah.
districts put in annual,
oh,
that they
yes.
would do it.
I don't think we put in there.
I mean, usually I say it's fine to do it,
Yeah,
but sometimes you don't
but
want
we'll be
to,
doing it this year anyway.
So, going back to the point about the additional components of our policy that would not be included on this, we're saying that we would do that as a separate thing, and we would base that on the language that's in our policy?
Yes, when this is based on the USDA,
Yep.
and our policy is expanded from what this assessment is. But this is a good majority of it. but we have, on the wellness policy, we have the social emotional learning and health
Mhm.
segment, system of support for students, system of support for staff. I would see those three are what is standing out to me.
Where is that in this policy here?
Page
Uh,
7,
Uh,
6, 5, 6,
6,
7.
I don't think I'm looking at this right.
Yeah, page
right.
5, C.
Yeah, because
Oh, okay, okay.
that's very specific to, I will say, and let me look, I'll get back to you on, I don't know if it would align specifically, but I do think there may be now some, like, policy input, like some CASEL-related
Oh, yes.
SEL,
There
so
is.
that could be something
Yes.
to use.
And Castle is in
It's
our
got it in
policy.
the policy right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Self-awareness,
That's what you guys are
self-management,
using for
social
SEL
awareness,
standards.
relationship skills, responsible decision making. The question would be, for me, would be how do we comprehensively determine our status with these things? That's kind of tricky. It's tricky for,
Subjective.
yeah, a little bit.
Do we have to use the same measurement criteria that this one does?
No,
And
and I'm not
maybe
sure
that's-
that you're required to do that. You are required
Yes.
to assess your and monitor your implementation of the other provisions.
Right.
That is a federal requirement. Around the SEL, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think that's something newer that the schools, you are just adopting those, right?
Right.
The CASEL standards and implementing in your school. So that would be something to look at. I don't know if
Yeah.
you should put that burden on yourself for doing that for January. That feels like a
Yeah,
No.
seems a
heavier.
lot.
No, I was not putting that on for
Yeah,
January.
yeah,
I figured this in itself is
Yeah.
going to give us just a lot of information that we're going to be able to just look at the district as a whole and set some goals basically
Yeah.
to how we want to approach this. So no, I would not say that for January.
And I did look, and you do say an annual,
It is annual.
but I will say,
Okay,
it doesn't
okay.
necessarily
This will be
need,
the toughest year.
but it doesn't necessarily need to be, this. It says, review this policy on a yearly basis and forward any recommended revisions and updates due to new federal and or state laws or regulations and the state's recommendations to the superintendent and school committee. So I mean, I think what you could do, and as well on that, on our page on reporting, there are some examples. One just came from Lincoln actually, which was great, and the school committee member there who chairs it, I said to her, could I post that on our site? It's a great example of kind of a one-pager that the wellness committee put together to report to the school committee, so she would present that, and that's kind of like a public reporting on what did the wellness committee do, what are the activities, what are our goals. It's just a nice example. That kind of thing can be done annually and should be, so that the public is informed about what the committee's doing. This kind of more in-depth assessment on all of the provisions, I think, once every 3 years you should be doing that and really looking at how it's being implemented, and then just at the policy, did anything change? Is there something that we really need to update it? And I'll keep you updated if there's been some federal law or state law that, you now have it updated so it aligns with any of the laws.
We have a meeting, I think, May 21st, and there's a school committee meeting May 26th. So I had thought that would be an appropriate time for us to do the annual report.
Mm-hmm.
And then in January and in the May 16th meeting, we're going to have Jody Clark here regarding the curriculum. And that's something in our policy too, is that we will have reporting twice a year. So at that point, we're going to have both curriculum presentations, and then we could do the annual report to the school committee after the fact, if everyone thinks that works.
Could you send me a copy, or maybe the whole committee, a copy of that Lincoln?
It's on the, I can
Where's
certainly
already
do
here?
that, but I can just, if you know what, Bob, if you want to go, so go back to the first tab, and go down to the bottom.
So it's on your site already.
It's under document and report, Lincoln Health and Wellness Report 2023.
Okay.
That's a new
Yeah.
one.
Okay, good.
So it says how many times they met, who's represented.
I see the one for Barrington. Oh, okay, all right. Down at the bottom, all right.
Yeah, because that's like a nice, just condensed
One page.
Yeah.
one page.
So that's what is an example what they've done. Here's another one, Westerly. I think some of these are old. That's why I just was like, we really need to up to 2015, 2016. But if you go on that one, the Westerly one, see they used this checklist and they gave their district scores. And so here they have it. The district met or exceeded the standard in 75.5% of the indicators, need improvement in 12.9% of the indicators. The successful areas of success and celebration are, and so they use it.
More data driven,
Yeah.
the percentages.
And this was a
That's good.
Westerly one, and that is
Where is
also, if you go back to that page, see the
It's on that
Westerly,
checklist there.
it's really old though.
What,
So-
what do you
But
think?
the design still makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, the form, I know.
Yeah, it applies, I think.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think is better, like data driven or more just general?
Could be a combination of both, or.
I think simple is better because it's easier to digest, so I'm not unhappy with the Lincoln stuff, but it's gonna take a while to read.
Right,
So
versus
Westerly
The other
is
one.
The
Yeah.
other one is a
Yeah.
little quicker and
Yeah.
it's like.
With the graph.
What are the
Yeah.
bullet
Well, we
points?
won't have all the data yet for the,
Well, if you did it in January.
okay,
Well,
yeah.
if we're doing, we're going to be addressing what is federally required of us first and foremost, and working on the other aspects of it. So that's something that's just a black and white that we're going to be doing, but we'll be simultaneously working on the social and emotional wellness, and just looking at the castle and seeing what are they using. I would think they're going to know something.
So
They're ahead of
let
us.
me make sure I'm understanding this right. So Karen, so like basically it would be the school and district spreadsheets that you share. Those would come first, and then once we have all our, and then the health report, the annual report would be like derived from that in terms of what we report out.
Could be on data.
which we would do in May, is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
So the
Yeah.
forms should be all filled out by May.
I thought it was January.
Well,
not
January, yes. I think if we can get what we can in January, and then that it gives us time at the March meeting to
see what
work
needs to be-
on it.
Yeah, what goals you might
Yeah,
want to
where are the
set
goals?
up,
We're gonna
what
be able to
goals
have,
you
like,
wanna
if-
work on.
If
Like,
we get
you
it in
look at-
January, we're gonna just be getting it then, so then in our March meeting, we can dig into it and
Yeah.
see what are our goals, what do we want to address first
You can
and
even look
foremost.
at that first link, wellness.
We're
action
going to
plan
be
for
in
schools.
good, when I went through it, a lot of these things are happening in all the buildings anyway, so we're not gonna have anything blatantly jump out at us, from what I could see on the assessment.
And I have the next time we meet with the admin council is October 30th, so we can
Okay.
kind of put that on the
Yes,
agenda
touch
for that.
base. Yep.
All right, and so the second piece that you were just alluding to, Trish, around the SEL and the employee well-being. So we talked about the employee well-being a little bit a
Yes,
couple days
so
ago.
we have that,
So we have like a process going there
Yes.
with the survey we want to do
absolutely.
and everything.
Yes.
So we can work through that. With the SEL piece, Jody Clark and I and Rachel Santa recently had a call with a group called Branching Minds. We're looking into them a little bit. We've heard some good things from different districts that use them. It's basically a platform that offers sort of a comprehensive interface that has all of your MTSS data points, okay, including academic and also social emotional. And they also have some like basically like some surveys that are both like adults and students centered around SEL that can be completed. So we're not with them yet. We're just looking into it. We have a call. Jody and I have a call coming up with Middletown, because Middletown uses it and they love it. They love it. So their assistant superintendent, who I know, she's meeting us. But she said in an email, she goes, "This is one of the best platforms we've ever used. It's fantastic." Branching Minds. Cumberland uses it too, because Rachel used it in Cumberland when she was there. And so we had a little demo that we saw. It was very comprehensive. So like it was very user friendly. The interface included everything, so you could see like really all the pertinent data that would talk with our student information system. It would comport with Aspen, and it would have like things that you can look at from an academic point of view, attendance, and then social emotional indicators. So it looked good, but I want to promise
Good to know.
You know,
well, you're already working towards it. So
and that's kind of in line with like our goals for our strategic plan too around SEL and having a system for like how we determine who needs more support.
Nice.
So we can report back on that too.
Excellent. And I put down October 30th for the admin council.
Yep. So that'll be when the principal. That'll be when I can bring this to the principals,
Yep.
and then they can get to work on it.
Great.
And again, you can even say there is that little video on the
the tutorial.
home up at the top there in case somebody's like, oh, how do I do this?
All right. Well, Karen, seeing you're like the star of the show today, would you like to tell us what else is going on in your world?
Wow, big going on in our world is preparing for next Thursday, which I know many of you will be there at our annual breakfast for school wellness leaders. So we're very excited about that. I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger. We have a wait list now that we can't even accommodate everybody, but we're well over 400 people, and I think there's 30, just that there's so many districts, including you all who have 31, 32 district tables. So really most of the districts in the state will be there with teams, which is great. And then we have more than ever these 45 exhibitors, and we did send out today, so anyone who's registered to attend should have gotten an email with our exhibitor list and a map, but you can learn who's going to be there and what they're offering. Everyone there is offering some, in the area of wellness, some either resources, free programming, grants, lesson plans, a whole range of and wide areas of health and wellness. So, we're really excited about the program. We're going to have from Vermont, we have someone coming down to talk to us about their successful Healthy School Meals for All campaign. So they are one of the states that now is offering access to school meals for every single student, regardless of their family income, and to talk about how they did that, why it was successful, and what are the impacts that they're seeing. Because they had 2 years, like everybody, of free meals that the feds paid for. Then they had a 1-year extension. Then they passed it. So they're in their 4th year. So they're starting to see anecdotally and by doing more assessments in the schools about attendance, about what's happening in classrooms, behaviors, what are they hearing from families, etc. But they had a real integrated farm to school program. That was a big part of their Healthy School Meals for All. The idea that the more kids that participate, the more federal reimbursement you get, the more investment in your program, the better your program will be, and the more you can purchase locally and have quality improvement. So Betsy will talk about that, and then the District of Smithfield is presenting the Assistant Superintendent, Sarah Monaco, on their journey with Farm to School, because they've done a lot. They have a whole working group out of their wellness committee on Farm to School, and have gotten USDA grants and have partners in their communities. They're going to talk about everything they've done in food service, but in education as well, and how they're integrating all of this.
And then in the afternoon, we have a whole staff wellness piece for educators. And then some help for health educators on both a PD opportunity. I don't know here if it would be, if you all, I know you've selected, but it's, partial, some new health education curriculum, but this is working with that we've worked with before, a national health ed consultant, and having teams of from districts, health educators, and a curriculum director. So I don't know if there'd be interest, but working together to really lay out like a scope and sequence, doing the K through 12, doing skills-based assessments, because once you adopt a skills-based curriculum, it sort of changes everything around how you're assessing student work. So that's going to be an opportunity we're going to talk about too.
We've got a lot going on.
Yeah, that's a
Wow,
lot. Yeah,
momentum, yes.
And then in our recent, we did send out e-newsletter. There were a few things. One of the opportunity that worked for staff wellness is in there that we've already had some people register for. A lot of districts, I don't know if you were doing Trish, but we had the Apple Crunch again.
Yes, we did have.
Okay, oh good. That we created a lot of resources. There is, I might add, for those interested, and I know you are, but I hope people can come. We had here, we're doing a farm to school convening, a network convening to start doing strategic planning, because we really now have these state partners that are committed and invested, but there'll be a free locally sourced dinner, so it's on November 9th. November 9th from 3 to 6 p.m. So it's the first time we're having this convening, and we're really looking for anybody, whether you're a parent or a community member, a farmer, a grower, certainly food service, but we need to hear from everybody and starting to put together a plan.
Just for the rest of you, I know Karen's aware of this, but the federal government has, we've been taking advantage of monies that have been available to buy local produce and also other items that are minimally manufactured in New England. And we have used 21 different vendors this year so far. And because the money is there, so it's just been a game changer for us. That it's been challenging for the farmers and everything else, that we're just, we have a flash freezer at the high school now. And so with the green beans being grown by Confreda Farms, I pre-ordered, and as the beans were being, harvested, we were not only serving them during the harvest season, but we were flash freezing them so that we're going to be able to be providing Rhode Island green beans in the months to come as well. And there was a big rainstorm one weekend, and it wiped out North Kingstown's green beans out in the fields. So we have these things. Hello, how are you? But it has been phenomenal that the USDA has been providing this money for us to use the local farms, and hopefully the money will keep on going. We shall see.
And that's part of even with a state farm to school network is advocating across the country to say, look what a difference it's made in our schools to have those federal funds, to invest in our local economy and to support, our farmers and keeping these spaces open, growing food for people and serving healthier food for kids. So
yeah, it's wonderful. It's a lot because it's a lot on the operation too. But it's just been, the kids had so much fun with the green beans. I gotta tell you this, because we did them whole. And they're like, they were swords, they were lassos, they were eating them too. But you never know what, I'm on Google Chat with all the schools, and they were all like, the kids love the green beans. They went crazy for the green beans. And I was like, wow, who knew? So these are the great things that come up that you would never have the opportunity to take advantage unless we had this extra money coming in to support the program. So.
Well, they do taste different, right, than canned green beans,
or
anything like a tomato. Like it's kind of a different thing.
Yes,
right?
everything about it, the texture, the color, the flavor.
Corn, I know you've done some.
Oh yeah, we did. They had corn today, as a matter of fact.
Really?
That was another thing we did with the flash freezing, was that we were able to pre-order the corn, and then, but when my staff looked at me a certain way, I said, I've got it coming in shucked. yay! Because I used to be like, no, not corn. And so, what a portion is a half of an ear, and we flash froze it, and they had corn on the cob today. So it's cool.
Do you think we don't talk about it enough?
I know, that's why I'm talking to
Sorry,
you guys now
No,
about
but I
it.
mean, like, a way to get it out to, like, the parent. Like, it's like,
Yeah, that's on the list.
I like green beans.
no, but I just think too, more kids would get school lunch and
Yeah.
would,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So just, I know that you have one of these, we created these, farm to school promotional kits.
Oh, yeah.
But as part of that, and this is what I'm saying, I know you just don't have the time, but maybe an interested parent, we created along with that.
Sherry, you.
And
I just wrote it down. I know.
I could go back, but a whole digital kit that you can access, that we made templates for putting a newsletter out. Like, I agree, but it's a lot on you and principals to do that. But we do have all these templates that we did to make it a lot easier. So I could send you the link, and maybe you could send it out to the committee.
I will do that.
I'll just show you, even things like morning announcements. Like, we just tried to create all these simple things on how you can promote and communicate your farm to school program. So I agree, people don't know.
They don't want it. So at Forest Park, the Tech one in front of Madison's, like, they're very involved at Forest Park, so they would be all over.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Top what and six.
to do talking, like,
Talking the
promoting it and
Right
talking
off
about it.
Quinnesset?
What?
Right off North Quinnesset?
Yeah, so they have kids. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they like
See, they're
they
there,
have
but
lots
we
of
don't
kids that
know
run
that.
at Forest Park, Davisville and the high school, and they're and they keep getting bigger. This is their second year with the CSA, so I just feel like
Wow, that's
it's kind of their thing. So I feel like we just don't talk about it enough.
No,
Besides
we don't.
the corn and the green beans, what other produce is the school purchasing, or does it just depend on what's in season?
That's one of the. It does depend on the season, and with New England, of course, we have a short season, but there's a lot of like hoop houses in New Jersey now and things like that, so we're still able to get regional produce. But I mean, tomatoes, lettuce, carrots, celery, herbs, corn, green beans, butternut squash,
The gamut, basically.
the gamut, potatoes, of course, and it's pretty much the whole gamut. What we've also been doing is we've had ground beef, we've had chicken. And ground beef and chicken are the two proteins that we brought in. Narragansett Creamery right now, we've been using their yogurt for all grades, and also some other stuff too, but a lot. It's been like we've definitely made a big change because we had the opportunity to do it, and we have to jump on it with the growing season too.
But how great with you doing the flash freezing.
Well, and then someone, I'm not sure who, but somebody heard about it, and they were like, I think there's only two schools they know of that do that, but now the farmers know that too. So if it's July, I can be bringing it in. This was brand new when school started, but we can be doing things when they have an abundance of their crops. So it's baby steps, but it's definitely got some traction.
I keep thinking about that. I have a friend that says every year he takes the corn on the cob and takes it off the cob, freezes it, and every Thanksgiving they have local corn. I'm like,
how cool
why
is
don't
that?
I remember to do that?
I do not remember.
No, at my farm it's done. It's gone.
Yeah.
It lasted fairly long, but I'm like, another year.
Yeah,
Forgot to
it
do that again.
happens.
But it's great, right? And then
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting for the kids too. Yeah, it's great.
Do we
Good
do
job.
any curriculum around it? Like, or could we?
Um,
Like, I think the kids would think that's fun to know that.
yes, I'm sure we could, but this is, we always were known for using a lot of farm to school anyway as a district. But we've just, catapulted this year with the program having the money. I think for the last 2 years, it's going to be like close to, I think it's around $70,000 that we've been given.
And all
To the
keeping
district.
in our Rhode Island
Yeah,
economy, right?
exactly.
And that's another
Yeah,
big
there's some
thing.
overlap in Connecticut and
Yeah,
Massachusetts,
yeah.
but even the honey that we're buying is Rhode Island bees going to Connecticut and made into, being packaged in Connecticut, but it's from Aquidneck apiary, is that how you say it? So even things for Rhode Island. See, that's part of it is the processing. Like Massachusetts has a manufacturing plant to freeze, portion controlled and that sort of thing. Rhode Island doesn't really have that right now. So that's why we have our own little version at the high school. Enough about my world. All right, so what I wanted to switch over right now to is just the policy itself, and if anybody had any individual input on some of the goals for the upcoming year. I know we all worked on the policy so much last year, page by page, and but I wanted to get a feeling I want to thank you all for returning this year, and what's important to you is important to me when we set up, what our to-do list is going to be during the school year. Jackie, you know how I always start with you.
I know you do. No, I think things are going great, and we started a garden last year, so we were able to get some really nice produce from our garden over the summer. And yeah, I mean, I like the altered menu that you give for preschoolers.
Oh, yes.
So they're not, and parents seem to like that as well. I was going over a list of, the students in the preschool program that, because we're a half-day program, don't know about. They could,
Is that why you called me
Yes,
yesterday? I'm like,
so again, communication, trying to let parents aware of what our nutrition program is like and what we can do for children, even though parents provide snacks for their preschooler. I just want to let them know that they have the opportunity. Our free and reduced kiddos do, but
absolutely.
Parents who want to purchase maybe a breakfast item for their child in the morning or a lunch item or something, for a healthy snack. So, no, I think it's going really well.
Great idea.
And then our green team at Fishing Cove, as we progress with our garden, we're going to try to develop a curriculum for the whole school. So our garden is for pre-K to the 5th grade, and they each have their own bed. But we want to put together a curriculum for the building, and then we also do, for the preschool families, we do a family engagement around healthy eating in our gardens and all of that. So we're going to be working on that for the spring.
I didn't know that your garden was for the pre-K to 5th.
Yes, we did it for the whole
Because
school.
you spearheaded it, which
Yes.
made me think it was more pre-K.
Yeah, we have a pre-K garden.
I saw
and
the garden
kindergarten.
this summer. It
Did
was
you see
rocking.
them? Yeah,
Yes.
we got
I was like, wow.
basil and all herbs. We got
Tomatoes.
zucchini, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. There was a lot of the
Did you have
lettuce and the
squash in there?
kale.
Did you have squash?
We had squash.
Yes,
We had
I think I
lots
saw
of
that.
growing.
Yes, it was great.
So, and URI, of course, helped with all of that and the seeds that we got from them. But, yeah, so it was really successful for our first year.
Yes, very successful
Yeah.
for year
Yeah.
one. I know, I forgot about it. And then I went on the property and I was like, oh my God, look at this.
Thank you for your support, too. I mean,
Of course.
purchasing
Hey, you
we
did it.
got the raised beds, we got the soil,
Yeah.
we got the mulch, from
Yes.
your recommendation, and yeah, it was good. And the
And we're-
equipment.
While you're bringing up the mulch, I just want to bring up that the person we've been using for composting from the high school now, we're going to be switching to Bootstrap. Karen, I know you know Bootstrap. And so they're going to be taking our waste and they're going to be making the compost. And we're going to get the compost for free going forward. So that's just a great way for us to just cycle all of our resources back onto the property. Sherry?
So I will say, Forest Parks, actually, one of the moms got a $47,000 grant for our outdoor learning. And
Wow.
so I don't have all the specifics of it, but I'm thinking there's things to tie in with it. Just, like you were saying.
Absolutely.
So it's in its infancy. Actually, I think Davisville got one too, and
Yeah, so
And
I
Whitford
can talk
Middle?
about this.
you
Yeah,
can
it's
talk.
called
Yeah, I
the
was
Learn-
gonna say.
I didn't know Forest Park did that.
It's called the Learning Inside Out grant. It was Holly Morin from
Yeah,
Forest
yeah.
Park who was like the champion of it, and she was it was my first day on the job here actually. It was the grant was due. So
Yeah,
it was
we're
one of those-
Oh, it was due?
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. We did a site walk. We looked at Forest Park, and they're like they got so much space back there.
There
Okay.
is, that we don't,
Which I wasn't aware of how much like space they have back there, which is awesome. So we're looking at like kind of developing that into like a outdoor little like I wouldn't say like a ropes course, that's probably too much, but like just an area for like outdoor activity for the kids to like expand it back, which looked really good. It's really nice, real shaded and really nice area. And then we looked at Davisville and we looked at Wickford.
yeah, that was it. I was trying to think the other two.
So we're looking at the tricky part with those two is that because we have a bond that is pending, so we're looking at doing something that is potentially movable if we have another if we have a new middle school that comes up. So I know they're working with one of the parts of the grant that's nice is that it gives you access to like a landscape architect, and he was on the walk with us. So they looked at the courtyard area, Davisville, and if there's something that we can do with that area. They looked at the back area of Wickford where they could do like maybe some type of garden or some type of area in the back to do like outdoor learning situation. But again, they're still like in flux on the middle school stuff, just because there's a little more uncertainty there. Forest Park is moving it forward. I know that the teachers involved are going to an event coming up with that, where they're going to kind of collaborate with some other districts who are also received the grant to get ideas. So it's in process. It's in process.
Wow,
So I think
great.
that's what I was saying. Like I feel like
Yes.
too, we don't use our outdoor classrooms
Mm-hmm.
as much as we could, and something like just having some program being like, do you know that all the food that you're eating in the cafeteria is,
Right. Yeah, they don't know.
No.
Yes.
yeah, like just
Right,
somehow like tying it. But yeah, I'd say that's probably like the big thing. And I know Holly, all of a sudden like she jumped on it last year, and we were like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, she was great. She was really she led the charge. For sure.
Yeah. So now
Very
we're
passionate
trying to
about
get more parents involved, so it's not all
Yep.
on Holly
Yeah.
to do. But I think that's
Well, that's great news. Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess I'm a physical therapist, so my expertise related to wellness would really be related to, physical activity and physical education. So if some sort of thoughts around that, or I don't know exactly what kind of input we could have, but, how my kids sort of love gym, hate gym kind of thing, and I don't know what
how do you
kind
make
of,
them love it?
yeah, or just more
That's a good point.
lifelong
Yeah.
exercise things instead of stuff that is just so you might only do as a kid, or I don't know. I don't really, those are just first thoughts. I don't even know if that ties
They're
into
good ones.
this, but something to get them to be lifelong
I hate
engagers
so I
in
agree.
activities. Like the
Sad to see kids
exercise
go there.
can be so many different things.
Well, that's like 20 minutes a day kind of thing too. I like if you parallel to reading, right? Like you want it to be something that they enjoy doing
Yeah,
and
and
want
look forward
do.
to.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big topic. And you're right about gym.
Yeah.
They love it or hate it.
Yeah. And getting those kids that don't like it, how can we do better? If you're not an athlete,
athletes,
sometimes
exactly.
it's very difficult.
Especially as they get older and are more
Yeah,
competitive.
and I guess for me, like my kids are both in middle school, and that's just such a tough age. Self-esteem and all of that other stuff as well. But I feel like, I'm not quite sure what to do with it, but those are just thoughts.
I like that.
I like it. Yeah, you definitely touched on something there. Thank you. Lydia, how's our community these days?
Well, busy. There's, so we have quite a few blessings in a backpack. So my office oversees blessings in a backpack, and so that's up and running again. And we have a solid about 200 kids across the district who are taking advantage of it. And as we have in the past, we continue to get support from Dave's. They provide fresh fruit that goes in those blessings bags, and it's usually apples. And actually, I was thinking about when we were talking about the foods, that the fresh foods that you have available. and you were asking the question about tying into the curriculum. Just a couple of weeks ago, the kindergarten teachers at Knesset decided that they wanted to do a different type of apple taste comparison. So Dave's donated 3 types of apples. They tried Granny Smith, a yellow apple, and a gala apple. So they had red, yellow, and green. And they each got a little slice to taste the difference. And it strikes me that maybe like if you ever had peppers or, you know, and so ways that we could communicate like fruits and vegetable inventory that might be available to the teachers to do things like taste tests where otherwise they might not want to eat a pepper, but if they are trying a different, you know, a taste test, then suddenly it's more exciting. And that's what they ended up getting enough apples from Dave's that they made applesauce. So that was like a learning thing too for them to prepare so that was something that the kindergarten classes did with the teachers team together to do that over at Quid. So I think that that's a cool intersection of what we're talking about and ways of maybe, I don't know if it's part of, can be part of what we do, but maybe we could think about ways of communicating what resources might be available to support that type of activity for teachers who are interested in doing something like that in the classroom.
No, they did it at the town camp at McGinn. The teachers have done it. Where they had like mango, kiwi, like exotic.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the teachers at McGinn who were like, let's do. It's a good thing for summer camp. But even I agree, and kids will try because my kids didn't think they like kiwis, and now they did.
Yeah. So Trish, there was a program at Fishing Cove, and I want to say it was maybe before COVID from Rock Supermarket.
Yes.
Was that like a
fresh,
grand? And they would come in every day or once. I forgot what it was, and they would bring all individual containers, either fresh fruits or vegetables, for all of the classrooms to try. And the kids loved it.
Yes, and we have that program. We had it at Knesset and Fishing Cove. And Fishing Cove got dropped because of their free and reduced percentage. Yes, and it's a great program. We restarted it. It's 3 days a week at Knesset, fruits and vegetables, and individually packed, knowing they will eat it. If it's small bites, it goes out to all the classrooms. And when we just started it last week, we restarted it. There was all kinds of excitement in the building, especially from the teachers.
The varieties were great because it wasn't like the same thing like an apple, a banana. It was
And you never
the varieties
know which kids like sometimes years ago they would put extras after school available through extras.
Yes,
and so there would be the kids who were like, I really like that, you know, whatever.
And
then
extras to them because they weren't open; they were still sealed.
They were still sealed.
But I have to say, the children really enjoyed. I think all the grades at Fishing Cove really enjoyed it.
I was on the call with Rhode Island Food Policy a couple of days ago. Were you on there then? And it came up about fresh fruits and vegetables, and I interjected how I see, because you see the same faces over the years, I see the Knesset population at the high school eating more fruits and vegetables.
Interesting.
Unbelievable. I've said it for like a few years now, like Knesset, and they're like, yeah, and they don't even know why I'm recognizing them, or did you go to Knesset? Just by looking at their trays, and you don't have anything data-based except that living it and seeing it. And I mentioned that at the food policy, just that they were talking about just how do you get the kids to eat the fruits and vegetables? Well, we're using this grant where we're getting it into the classroom in a little cup, and of course everyone's going to try it and eat it.
Well, it's like peer pressure too. Well, like so-and-so tried it, and not like my mother didn't tell me to have that.
Well,
How do you get it into more of the schools?
Yeah, like how could, is it something we could figure out how to?
We have one elementary
Yes,
school, but what
because
about all the others?
yes, so Knesset has a 58% free and reduced population, and so 50% or over 40 really seems to be when there's a tipping point for taking advantage of grants. Knesset's at 58%. The next highest is Davisville and Fishing Cove at 26%. Big drop.
And they do, it's the states.
The states. So whereas Fishing Cove at one point was 38%, they were 38% at one point, and we were like, just, they're going to bump us up when you're that close. And so we had the program for a few years, and then as other schools signed in with higher free and reduced eligibility, Fishing Cove got bumped off.
But it is too bad, and we wish that
Yes.
these programs could be more, and that's where all this advocacy, you know, at the federal level to say, I mean, I understand they're looking at the most under-resourced communities and that don't have as much access and may not have it in the home, so that's why they look at it's a federal program. It goes straight from the top. If any school, like you're right, Trish, applies and they have, so it's all the Providence,
it bumps out whoever.
So it's only in a few of the suburban communities, maybe one school or two, But it's true. It would be it's great for any kid when they're young to just be exposed and to try in that classroom setting where they're more likely to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Could the town, could we figure out, like, I feel like the PTOs in the elementary school, like, if you were like, oh, you need whatever it is, $5,000, we could do it once a month, or, you know what I mean? Like, some sort of.
That
is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and find out
paid.
from Rocks how much would it cost for them to do.
and I get not every day or every week.
Right.
Yeah, maybe a smaller version of it.
Like in all the other schools that I feel
a sampling, yes.
Yeah.
Because it is not inexpensive, but when you look at the labor savings, the packaging, the portioning, the delivery, all that, it's 63 cents per portion. So when you start multiplying that by 1,000, that's a lot of money. But it's not to say that it can't be done periodically. But we tried to do it ourselves. We tried to do a hybrid model, but Rocks handles it so beautifully. It's always going to be there. It's all.
Would Rocks let us buy it from them?
Yes, Rocks would love to sell you.
But like, no, if you're saying it's 63 cents, and I was just figuring out.
Yeah, like Hamilton is 450 kids, so like.
But even if you did ever like.
It's definitely something
maybe pick
I
a
want
grade.
to look at.
No, I'm just thinking, being the president of the PTO, like, I think the PTOs have money. That instead of, like, spending.
It's an exciting.
Like, I think that if it was $2,000 for the year for the kids to have it once a month, I don't know that the PTOs would be like, no, we can't do it.
Yeah, and just like when you were talking about kiwi's something that's done in the fresh fruit and vegetable program, and not everybody has had kiwi. It was kind of interesting. The first day, when Rox sent me the menu for Quinnesset, the first day it had jicama on it. And I was like, oh, no, you don't. That is not the way to start the program. They were like, how about mixed berries? Thank you. I was like, wait a second. But no, Sherry, I love it. I wrote it down. I think it definitely has potential. We can offer it and see what PTOs may want to.
Because I think we're always trying to give parents, like, what are you doing with the PTO money? Like, that is like, like a
that's
tangible.
Fantastic. Yes.
And
versus
let me
an
just
assembly
say,
that the parents don't, connect.
So you can access. So you mentioned like education. It's called SNAP Ed at URI. So these are nutritionists that offer education, but again, only in qualified schools for folks who are on SNAP. But the curriculum is available to anyone. So all of the schools, like in Providence, Woonsocket, while they're giving the fresh fruits and vegetables, they have very simple educational things. Questions to ask the kids, games to play, and we could access that. So you could get that if teachers were interested when they were passing them out or to send home with parents. They put all that together that they offer the schools that use the program. But they probably aren't really, because they're not working in your district. You know what I mean? They spend all their time.
Right. Yeah, I do have access to the resources though.
So it's the FFPP curriculum. It should be.
Sherry, looks like we've got a project going.
And can I ask you, is it okay if it's a curriculum that's not attached to, like, with all the other stuff that's like, that the teachers, I feel like, are tied into having to always figure out how to, like.
It would be something that they would just have available to them. Right?
Yeah.
Like we're not mandating it.
It's educational because with the SNAP Ed cards, say we were to do Kiwi, it's going to give you the benefits of Kiwi and just little
little things.
And little things about Kiwi that's age appropriate. So it's not going to take up time or disrupt anything.
Well,
it's only going to add.
Thinking, right, do the other elementary schools do like the ambassador program? Like Forest Park has the 5th graders have ambassadors.
We do.
So like you could have the ambassadors do it for the little kids. Like it could be a project for them to do.
Excellent. Well, Lydia, you really. Well, one thing I love about the traffic light that you mentioned about the apples is years ago when we were like, how are we going to get kids to eat peppers? And we did it as traffic light peppers.
Oh.
And even now they're packaged red, yellow, and green. But I never thought about it with the apples.
Well, yeah, that wasn't my idea. That was the teachers, but yeah, I thought I helped get the apples though.
Nice.
And days. For
Yes.
them.
Oh, yeah.
They're very
good.
generous.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Yes.
And it sometimes it's like I think that the teachers don't always think to ask, and so then they make thinking, oh, am I going to have to pay for this out of pocket or whatever?
Yeah, so they don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Resources
to
that are
know,
available.
To know what resources are available might be kind of inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could maybe do something like a wellness theme week through the PTOs too. That could be like where you try to do that program for that week or something.
The tasting thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it seems
That's a great
that would be
idea.
like manageable, and if the PTOs were interested in funding it, could just be an option for the PTOs.
Yeah, I just think you saying like the kids at Crescent, you know, because like
If we're seeing an impact, well,
because you're not forcing them to eat. Like I feel like the whole like forcing your kid to, you know, I have one that eats specials, one that doesn't. One who actually brought a red pepper home to prove she ate them at school, which I was like, I threw the rest out in the garbage, but I was like, okay.
Wellness theme week. That's a cool idea. All right. I just wanted to add that something that's going on in the district is that through being on the board of the food pantry, we had some resources, and we're always trying to just reach out to the schools. And it came to our attention last spring, I'm not sure if I mentioned this last year or not, that they had just an uptick in the nurses' visits. Kids were looking for food. They weren't necessarily there for breakfast. I became aware of it at Davisville Middle School, and when I heard about it through another board member, I was like, what? And then I just reached out to the nurses to find out, you know, are you running into this? Are you picking up product? And some of them were just stocking their own little pantries with, you know, out of pocket. And so the food pantry, we did it quickly, but I knew I had to like jump while the iron's hot. And they said, is there something we can do? So last May, I reached out to the nurses. They told me what they were: granola bars, applesauce, a cheese stick, this and that. And so I just took their volume in May. We placed an order. We distributed it to the nurses. I made it so that it would be as close to the end of the school year because, number one, we were spending food pantry money and we didn't want anything left over in June. It worked out great. We had very little left over, which we just used for the summer program. And so it was like our little quick pilot program. But now we've had our second delivery for the nurses' clinics, and the food pantry pays for it. And I built the food pantry. And now we're also supplying hygiene supplies for the nurses' clinics as well, through our resources through the food pantry. So it's just great to
all the schools?
all the schools, yes. What I did was I found out what we had in our hygiene pantry because I wasn't really working with it at the food pantry, and then I reached out to the nurses, you know, for certain families that run into circumstances, you know, deodorant, razors, shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, toothbrushes. And it wasn't like they needed a lot of everything, but they did need some things. So now we have another board member who's handling it though, but we're able to supply hygiene products for circumstances where the nurse may be aware of a family who needs some of these supplies. So that's a monthly program. So I'm just very excited about us integrating with their resources, because of course they know that we're feeding. If you look at Quinnesset, we're doing breakfast, the vegetable snack, lunch, after school snack. So those families aren't always tapping into the food pantry because the kids are they're being fed. And yet we know there's certain things that they're going to need. So I just love that the food pantry has kind of expanded, thought out of the box, like, well, what do they need? So I just want to share that with everybody, right? John? It's good.
Last year, there was a bill in the General Assembly for healthy meals for all kids. It died late in the session, if I recall. And it may not be our specific issue, but I would like to see this committee support that and probably come up with some draft resolution language, assuming that we're in agreement on it. I'm not trying to presume that, but I'm really tired of hearing about kids not getting enough to eat or being shamed because they're reduced income or something. So I know you carried the ball a lot on that last year, Karen. If you come up with or you become aware of any resolution language, I'd like you to share that with the committee.
I will share. There were a few district school committees. I remember, I don't think in the end you guys did, but maybe because you didn't discuss it. But anyway, we're not there this year. We're working much harder before then with the governor's office, because I think if the governor included it in his budget to the General Assembly, it will pass there.
Okay.
So there's a lot of talk right now, honestly. There's a lot of support. They just want to see the number go down. So there's talk about, well, should we just start with breakfast? Should we only do families that meet a certain threshold? There's all this back and forth that's going on now. I think as advocates, I know where I'm at. It's like, no, we should be doing the whole thing. I think ultimately too, it's taking off a burden on school districts to manage this whole program and the debt that ensues because, and through no fault of kids, whatever it is, whether the parents just, there still is, I know it, and you know it because you're working at food pantries. A lot of people say, well, we already have a program for poor families. Why do we need to pay for wealthy parents in North Kingstown for their kids to have meals? But the truth of it is there's this whole group of families that don't meet the income because it's set so high. I mean, you would be like minimum wage earners. Like, it's the same income guidelines as it is across the country. We live in an area with high housing costs.
High rent, yes.
So there's a lot of struggling people that really can't. And so what happens is, you must see it every day in cafeterias, especially in secondary. They don't purchase lunch. They're not getting money to purchase lunch. They either go through the line and try to, whatever, and then they rack up the bill, and then you have to end up calling the house, or they sit there and bring like a bag of chips from home, because they just bring whatever they can, and they're not having access to a healthy meal with good proteins, with good, fruits and vegetable sides, etc. So thank you for that.
Yes,
and so
appreciate that
we're trying to work it through now with the governor's office and the hopes. That's the hope. So we got going a lot earlier this year, but that's what I hope. We have the champions. One is actually Teresa Tanzi, who's your rep. She's still recovering from surgery.
She's not our rep, but she's very nearby. She's very close. We have Alana, DeMario, Belverdi, Casimiro, and Craven.
Okay, so Tansy isn't North Kingstown?
South Kingstown.
No. So is us talking to people who, do you think us talking to our state rep?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah.
See, I also think people are missing that these poor kids who aren't getting food, could get made fun of by other kids. It's almost just avoiding, it's almost like the wellness thing, then you don't feel like you don't want to ask for the food, or you don't want to say
isn't
anything.
It terrible? I just think about it. How crazy is this that, in a cafeteria, I just think it's crazy. There are some kids that aren't eating, that can't eat. I can't go through the line. You can go. I'm bringing food from home. It just shouldn't be. It should just be that that's part of the school day, that everyone can eat
a healthy lunch from school. It is terrible.
Yeah, or that kids are like, obviously you're not supposed to share food at school, but I've had my girls come home and be like, well, so-and-so
Because
didn't have a
so-and-so
snack,
didn't have.
so I snuck a snack.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's okay. I'm like, like, I was like, it's all right, but
so much.
they, like, they felt like they were doing something wrong, but the kids are like, just trying to like, be like, I just want to help my friends.
Right.
I had a snack, they didn't have a snack.
More than you think, even, so the rep, and I was gonna say, because Rep Tansey also had a bill, that was confusing last year too, because there were multiple bills, so we're really trying to work with both houses so that there's a singular bill, that they're aligned in both houses to simplify it. But it was Justine Caldwell, who's East Greenwich. She's the one who introduced the bill, and people might think East Greenwich. What is she worried about, families that can't afford school lunch?
Shockingly, not everybody is wealthy who lives in this way.
Exactly.
It's across, and see, that's the other thing where they were saying, can't we just go in the high poverty districts so that they could do CEP? And it's like, you know what, there are families in every community, city and town throughout the state. And I think how unfair, that's just not equitable, that just because you live, like I was just thinking about, like where I live, like I'm really close to the next town over, like, and maybe those kids might end up getting free lunches, even in the same, well, you got it here, don't you? At one school? It's a CEP?
Yes, Quinnesset, the CEP.
Okay, so even that, does that feel odd to you? Like, why can those, like my friend lives in this neighborhood and their kids get to eat school lunch for free, but I live in this neighborhood in the same town.
Oh yeah, and like the way Quinnesset works, like if you're on North Crescent Road all the way to Mountain View, one side goes to Quinnesset, one side goes to Forest Park. So you could like live across the street from the kid, like
And
that.
that's because there's all these,
Yeah,
very
like-
complicated federal regulations,
Yeah.
and they are
Also-
designed to try to help. But I think the more states, and I was on a call this morning, the more states that start to pick this up. I mean, ideally, the idea is that it should be like during COVID, it'll be a federal program, and it'll just be meals are part of the school day, and it's all done through federal taxes and the federal budget.
To one of your points, this week we were getting the agenda out, and I got a message that I needed to adjust something in the agenda, and I couldn't reach Trish because she's scrambling to cover the bases in the high school, to cover the bases, to make sure that kids are.
But think about it, all the time you could use that for something.
Well,
Well,
the
the
resources.
the administrative burden
Yes.
on a professional is pretty significant. And we weren't able to talk for 2 days because she was busy.
It was, I call it.
So I think there are a lot of compelling reasons for why we should. I'm not really buying into the notion that it's too wasteful. I think we can find ways to deal with that. But
well, thank you for that. And I'll definitely, you maybe could come and testify. We'll see.
I got asked about that last year, and then the meeting came up, and nobody got back to me, and I spaced out on it. But I'd be happy to talk about it. One thing I want to cover, and I know it's getting late already.
No, we're doing
We have. We're very lucky to have all of you here serving again for another year. But there's some discussion about subcommittees having terms. I'm not saying term limits because, frankly, I think we can use all the help we can get. But I don't want anybody to feel obligated that they must be here. And we're going to probably come up with some kind of a policy for that. My personal thought is something along the lines of 2 years, and then if a person wants to continue, can reapply, and we can go that way. But I'd be interested in the committee's thoughts on that. It's a big obligation to do this work, and I know that I've spoken with other school committee members, and the policy subcommittee is kind of working on that. So I'll be interested in everybody's thoughts about it.
I think one of the positives there is if there was somebody who was on the fence and they were able to say, like you last year, Sherry, well, you've got 2 more years at Forest Park, you know what I mean? We might be able to recruit some people, because it's not like once I'm on it, how do I get out of it? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I'm always one of those once I'm in forever. But
Yay!
I definitely, when I applied, I was wondering what I was getting into,
Okay.
to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
I
'cause you
think
don't,
having
it's
some
open-ended.
structure with the
Well,
possibility of continuing, if you
Yes.
want to continue, makes sense to me, and you might actually get more people to volunteer if
Yes.
there is some sort of expectation.
That was the concern.
Well, I would-
That
yeah.
you don't want it to be a sinkhole that people think, well, now that I'm in it, I can't leave.
And I
Just
was
like the Hotel California.
I was wondering who, I mean, because this isn't, there's not a lot of people here, so like, did everyone continue, or do we even know if everyone is continuing into this year?
I'm going to follow up with those who, there was someone who did, who's moved actually, and then I was gonna reach out to those to see if they're still interested in continuing and see where we stand for numbers.
Right.
One member has a student, or a former member had a student who graduated and got a job in Boston. And the commute is going to make it really hard to. That's the other question that I wanted to talk about. The timing of these meetings. I know there were some complaints last year
Yes,
about starting too early,
yes.
and I want to know what people think about. Is a 4 o'clock start on these meetings too early? Do you want to go 5 o'clock? Does it matter? There was some concern.
I mean,
about
me
people not
personally,
being
4
able to
o'clock
get
is
there.
tough, I'll answer, and
It's
you got,
tough.
everyone
Oh,
can
no,
answer,
yeah.
4 o'clock is tough, 4:30 would be better, I mean,
Okay.
I raced to get here,
Okay.
so, for me personally, that's.
Well, for
4 is-
myself, working in district, 4 o'clock's great, but 4:30 is fine
4:30.
too. You know, I'm
Okay,
here.
yeah, me too. I'm flexible.
You know, so I can be
Sometimes
flexible.
4:30 is,
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what your.
4 is hard to get here.
4 is
Right.
hard.
Is
Yeah.
4:30 better?
So would you prefer 4:30?
It would give me a little more time
Yeah.
To breathe.
Yeah.
You like 4:30?
yeah.
Okay.
And can I just say, as far as like I don't want to, I would hate to see it get too formal, the process where it kind of intimidates parents. Like I feel like I would still like to see the subcommittees be welcoming, that if there's too much formality to it, people will be intimidated by wanting to join, whereas, you know, like things in the school where you can, you know, try it out and see if it's a good
Yeah,
fit,
yeah,
and you know what I mean, and you know,
Yes.
if it's not so strict where they feel like if you have an obligation 1 week, you don't have to be there necessarily. Like you'll probably get more people willing to participate. So that's
a
the
good-
only thing I would
Yeah, no,
be
that's
concerned
good.
about is intimidating,
Yes, that
discouraging
is-
people.
Yeah, a good point. And last year was so policy driven. Now we get to just even have this conversation that we're able to talk about all kinds of different things.
And is it possible too, like you were just saying, like what if there's something like when we decide things we're gonna do, like say, I don't know, what we were talking about finding better ways for PE, or could we put it out to people to be like, if someone was more interested in that, then they were interested in something else. Like could they help
Yeah,
on
to have,
one little
like,
portion
different-
versus everything? Because
No,
I think that everything
good
I agree
point.
with you.
Yeah, like Pam mentioning, just, you know, physical activity and education is where she can
So like is that
make the
yeah,
greatest
like,
contribution.
Because I always find out with PTO, like, I laugh because I'm like, you don't have to do it every meeting. Like, I have a mom, I'm like, oh no, you're my graphic designer person. You're my this person. Like, I feel like there's probably people who don't want to commit, but like want to help.
People have different strengths.
Yes, yeah, like whatever they have a
Yes.
strength in.
And that's why maybe the agendas are good, because if it's an initiative that's decided on, but this meeting, we're gonna focus on
Right,
integrating more physical activity, then someone who says, that's my thing,
Oh, yes.
I wanna go to that. I mean, they're still open though, right? They're public
Yes,
meetings.
they
They
are.
are, and there's gonna be public comment.
Yeah, so someone can come and be able to contribute, even if they're not technically a
Okay.
Right,
member.
that's good. Tom, were you all set? Did you
I think
cover it?
that was my two things. I'm good.
You're good? Suzanne?
So I don't know if this would fall under this committee, but like, I don't know if there's any way to address or more education about vaping. Like I feel like we've done a great job about saying no to drugs, educating kids about nicotine. Like that's gone way down. I think the kids you see smoking, but the vaping is really concerning. Like I think you see kids and young adults addicted to it now, that, you know, even into pregnancy they're using it, and I really worry about, you know, the student population, how they're getting the, you know, the vape cartridges, you know, could they be, you know, laced with fentanyl, and something innocent can turn into something deadly. So I don't know if there's a way
We
to.
have a coalition I wish I could think of the name right off the top of my head.
The Prevention Coalition.
Yeah, Prevention Coalition.
I agree with you. Like, I feel like kids are all stuck to like.
Yeah, like cigarettes. They're
Cigarettes
like,
are bad,
cigarettes, but like the vaping, I feel like
It's like a new thing, and how do you get that?
they're
too?
cool, and you know, like they're just everywhere all the time. And I feel like that's how kids are, you know, using marijuana now, and it's just, I don't know if there's more messaging in a broader way in education, like we can just get to them.
What I was thinking is we can invite the Prevention Coalition to our next meeting and all learn. I know I'll learn.
Yeah, because when we tie that into wellness, like
Yes.
that is
And
not
I think some
well.
of it I've seen in other communities, it's parents too.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the kids, the adults think, oh, this isn't so bad. And so if kids see their parents doing it, they think, no, my dad says it's better than smoking. And I mean, I know some other places when they get in trouble and the parents are like, I paid a lot of money for that, give it back. You know, like if they confiscate it. So it's like parent education as well as the kids. And we should ask what the health teachers, I think it needs to be more updated. And one of the things that I had read a study, and I'd have to go back to find it, the lesson plans, but kids don't often respond to like, you could get lung cancer when you get older, like nicotine. It's just not where their brains are at. But what they did respond to was the impacts of marketing and being taken advantage of. So there was one lesson plan talking about like Joe Camel and showing them to say to them, do you really know what these companies are doing? They're taking you for a fool. And they're trying to create these marketing campaigns to make them look like to get you addicted. And they don't like that. Like they really did how the teenage brain works. And I thought that was so interesting because they said all these health things.
I think there's been some pressure on the
right, kids
federal
are like, I'm
level
young
on
now,
some of
like,
these
that's not-
companies or corporations
Yeah.
to scale this back
Yeah.
because they were marketing products that, you know, they're fruity or
Yep.
Well, it's no different than when we were kids and the cigarettes. Think about
Yeah,
those ads,
I think
right?
some
as
communities-
much
The problem
education as
is,
we
I
can
think the
get.
cigarettes are detectable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these are like,
Not to
they're so small. And, you know, I know it's a problem in the bathrooms. I hear complaints from parents and students, and I don't know. And I just see it more and more, you know, everywhere you're out, everybody's vaping. You know, it's like even, like you said, adults, I don't even think realize how harmful it
Right.
is.
And it is,
And
they
modeling
don't
that
often
behavior.
know what the nicotine can even be more than
Right.
what's in the cigarette. And they are addicted. That's the other thing. Did we
Yeah.
look at that? I can't remember this here, but in terms of policies, districts through the Tobacco-Free Schools Coalition, and there's model policy to change. So a lot of policies around, and it was mostly smoking, were really, you know, how many days would you get suspended? Like, what happens if you have a first offense, second offense? And now there's new policy trying to change that, and there's online courses. These kids are addicted. So it's like just saying you have to do in-school suspension or you have suspended home are not helping them with this. So it's offering, and there's a lot of free courses that if you can get them. I was just somewhere, I think it was Cumberland, where they actually said they changed their policy and they're actually seeing positive outcomes, that kids are doing this free online program and are able to quit. So it might be something to look at. What's your district policy around?
Yeah, instead of it
Your-
being punitive.
Right.
Correct. It's changing it from that punitive to
Educational.
Yeah.
education and
Yeah.
treatment, really.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the big selling point is you're being manipulated, so.
That was some of it. They
The
had
kids
lesson
would, like,
plans
click
for
to
health
that stuff.
teachers
Like, I don't want
on,
to be
because
manipulated
they,
or.
they found evidence. So I think it'd be interesting to find out what are the health teachers using for their units.
Yeah.
Because they clearly are talking about vaping. I think most health teachers are not really, it's
Isn't
no
this part
longer
of the health curriculum?
tobacco. Yeah.
I mean, that was an issue last year. I know that Dr. Clark was emphasizing that this thing focused more on vaping. So.
Yeah, so maybe that's, they may have not had that much time, but I wonder either what they were using or what they plan on using now.
Like, what I wonder what their like campaigns were for, like, you know, teaching about nicotine. Because I remember my kids were smaller, like they saw someone with a cigarette, they were like, oh, you know, like, you know, like if we could come at it in a different way than just strictly in, you know, a lesson in the curriculum.
I
you
think
know?
Right,
Like
a
messaging
cool,
or-
a cool campaign.
Yeah.
There might be an opportunity too to enlist like some students do, because like
Yeah.
I volunteer for Girl Scouts, right? And I know Boy Scouts is the same way. A lot of kids, as they get into middle school and high school, are looking for community projects to improve. They have to identify a community problem and then come up with solutions. And that may be an opportunity to bring kids in to help with some of this.
I
And
know
they really want
Vasa
to
does some
know
of it.
how they think.
Right. You know,
Doesn't Vasa do some of that? I know they go to the
I'm sure
middle
there's
schools,
other
but
nonprofits, but like
yeah.
you might be able to tap into those nonprofits that could, you know, maybe get some kids to volunteer to kind of discuss some of that.
Well, they definitely can. As a matter of fact, there were mini grants, and I don't know if they're still available. We were sharing this a while ago, but again, it didn't come up as a topic here. But the health department, who were looking to implement stronger tobacco-free campus policies and those programs, and giving students money to do that. And that really nowadays is not tobacco products, but are these vaping cartridges, and they really should not be. I mean, they're not supposed to be used on school property. But you're so right.
You're right
that
there. Easy to
it's
hide.
or maybe
hard to-
even bringing students in that have had a problem to talk about it to
Right.
other kids.
I wonder why this wasn't talked about before we passed all these laws that like open, like legalized marijuana, and that promoted vaping with FDA,
Yeah, because it's a
approves all this
problem.
stuff.
I
And
think
it's like
huge
the
problem
cat gets
now.
out of the bag, and now we gotta run
But
and try to. It's
FDA
like,
has not approved it. It's all money,
sure they did.
right?
Yeah, well,
They were
tax
like
back.
they certainly didn't stop it.
No.
They certainly didn't stand in the way.
Yeah. Well,
When
it's,
vaping was like supposed to be the healthier choice, like they knew that it wasn't, and they
It's all
just
money.
let it happen.
Oh,
So it's like
yeah.
now you're, and so you release it on the public, and now it's like, oh wait a second, we shouldn't be doing this because it's fruity flavored, and it's of course it's going to be marketed to kids. They all knew it was. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
like,
And so it's like
kinda
now
like denial.
we're sitting here where we are,
Yeah.
and like
And
I don't want to be negative
is
Nancy here, but like
conflated with
I
the
get
whole
very
marijuana thing,
worked
and
up
that
about
it's
this because it's like.
Well, it's
legal.
no different.
It's like they
than-
solved the tobacco problem. We've spent how many
Right.
decades
Yeah.
fighting tobacco?
Yeah.
And then that, we turn around and say, oh, just do vaping. And vaping
It's
is
true.
released upon the public, it's marketed to children. They knew this, FDA knew this, but there was money to be made, and now it's like, we're here. And like, you know, my
People drive by
10-year-old
now,
went into the
too.
bathroom at the football game on Friday night, he's like, there was a kid vaping in there. Yeah, of course there is.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like the cycle got broke and then like restarted
It's
again.
it's
did.
really
And it's just
broken.
in a
It's
different
restarted.
And
format.
that's
And so
where
now it's like
SJJ's
now we're back to square one, solving the same problem
Totally
again.
are.
And it's going to
That's
take
right.
decades and decades to do it again.
Yeah.
Because there's money to be made. People are making a lot of money off of it. And you make money marketing to children. That's how you make it.
And I was saying that driving really concerns me because I see a lot of people. You see people in the stores, concert, where they got there with their kids in the car and they're high.
Yeah, it's like the same
Yeah.
thing as cigarettes, except it's not detectable. Cigarettes, when I
Yeah,
started
sounds
teaching, there was
great.
kids smoking in the bathroom. You can smell it down the hallway.
Right.
Vaping,
Yeah.
you can't.
No.
So it's like, wait, so we have this new product that's even more undetectable and probably more harmful.
Now someone will
You
come
know?
up with detectors and make money on that to solve that.
Well, there are
There's
some
There are.
out
Some
there.
schools
Or like it's like I get very worked up about this whole thing, and I agree. There are good programs out there. Like I've worked with the Prevention Coalition as a principal, and they've come into our school and they've talked about like they've done visuals with kids. Like this is what this product is that you're ingesting when you vape. You know, and this is what it does. This is what this is what your lung looks like. You know, if you have to use abuse and all those other things. And like they've used visuals like that. They've used signage in the bathrooms. Like I think it helps. And one thing I try to remind myself is that most kids don't. Right? Because we have this thing of, oh my God, they're all doing it. They're not. Most kids don't do it. But it's enough kids do it where it looks like they're all doing it. You know what I mean? It looks like this is like the cool thing to do. But like most of our kids make good choices and avoid that stuff. You know? So it's important to remember that. But
It's almost like starting earlier, like when they're young, like
Well,
elementary school. and
that
doing,
is
like,
true. And
you
a
know,
lot of
like
people
getting
say
in their
don't
head.
do that. That's happened where I've been in places and they've said we need to start this in the 5th grade. It needs to be in elementary.
Well, you
And
said
so
it's
sometimes
addicting.
parents are a little, I don't want you talking about like why should you be talking about that then? But it's so true now with social media, with they're getting ads on their phones and kids have access to so much now. I do think that the younger and it's maybe having
I'll tell you one of the things that's helped at our schools. And again, I only have anecdotal data to back me up. I don't know. We haven't done this yet, but we did the smart passes this year at schools because one of the big problems around vaping is you have phones, so you have texting, you have ways to connect like during the day. So it was like groups of kids would be like, hey, meet me in the bathroom. and this was the thing, if you talk to kids in the high school, they'll tell you this. You know what I mean? And they go to the bathroom and there'd be like a gang of kids who are all met up from texting their friends on their phone in there doing whatever. So the smart passes that we did is basically able to limit that.
So what is that?
It's an electronic hall pass.
How does it, okay,
So like basically it like allows the school to sort of monitor and regulate like when kids are asking for passes out of class to sort of notice trends and notice like if there are groups of kids who are constantly asking for passes at the same time, and basically to limit it.
So is this happening in the middle school too, or just the high school?
Middle school still. So again, anecdotally, kids are saying like this is getting better. Like they don't go to the bathroom and
So they're not
text the
afraid to
kids.
go to the I mean, I remember
We
that
had kids who were
was a big
like
time.
we had kids who were afraid to go to the bathroom.
Exactly, right.
They were like, we don't want to go. It's scary in there.
Allow phones in schools.
You know?
for the kids, I think it's a great idea in terms of the long-term impact of technology like that. That's pretty scary.
Well, at our breakfast, you'll see there's a company called Yonder. Anyone know about it? So they make these cell phone pouches, and all of the Providence middle schools, all of Central Falls are implementing it this year. And essentially, when everyone gets issued this pouch, and when you get to school, it's cell phone free. Your phone goes into a pouch and locked. You keep it. No one takes it from you. Put it in your backpack, wherever. And when you leave at the end of the day, all the exits in the building are these like, they're magnets, and you just tap your pouch on it and it opens it. And then you take your cell phone and you leave. And anecdotally, we'll see, they're now, did you read UK? Now they're going, well, they said UK, I think it's England now, cell phone free in schools. Australia is cell phone free in schools, and more, there's a lot of, which in Massachusetts schools, and this Yonder makes them, and they did when they worked in Providence. And what I found interesting, it was not principals or teachers, academics, they were saying kids are like watching movies, we're having more bullying incidents because they're texting each other, they're distracted, they're on social media. It was a health teacher that brought me in and said, come to the lunchroom. And she said, I just want you to look around. And I have to say, they weren't eating, they were not talking to each other, they were all like this on their phones. And this was post-COVID, and she said, look at this, we're worried they're not talking to each other, they're not engaging, they're all just on their phone. And that's what started it. And now they've gotten things that kids are like, I'm so less stressed, I'm not worried. Who's posting something that I'm not liking? Did somebody send me something that I'm not seeing? Who's doing? I feel this just weight when I'm in school. I want to think about it. So they're more, but they're going to be at our breakfast, and there's a number of schools in the state that are already implementing it. Yeah, and you want to hear what was funny? I used it once. I've only used it once in New York City on Broadway, and it was a show with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I remember I didn't know he was coming. It was this Freestyle Love Supreme, and I remember they go, oh, we have someone, if you people know Hamilton, you know him, on stage, and I was like, oh my God, right, what am I ready to do? And I'm like, I don't have my phone, like it's locked in a pouch, and they do that, and it was Dave Chappelle, who was an original investor in it, because a lot of the comedians don't want cell phones in their comedy because things are taken out of context, people are recording. So that's how it started, and this company started, but now schools have become the places because, it's just such a distraction, and and I know there were, I think one time it happened at Barrington and East Greenwich one time where, and I don't remember if it was a real incident, but there was like a lockdown, and what happened was immediately hundreds of kids texted their parents, and cars swarmed on the high school, and the first response, like they couldn't get there. It really disrupted their response. And at the time, in East Greenwich one time, parents were saying, why didn't we know about this? And I just remember he took a heart, he said, because my job, my responsibility first is to protect your children. And that's what we were trying to do. But all these parents, and they were mixed, they didn't get accurate information because everybody was just texting and sharing. And so it is kind of interesting that on the one hand, parents say, I want access to my kid all the time, because if something happened, I want
access to them. So I think, but then on the other hand, that has created sometimes,
I want my kid to learn too. I want my kid
I
to be
think parents aren't
socially safe.
educated.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Big
I'm
ones.
shocked how many kids in 5th and 6th grade have phones. And I'm like, why do you need a phone? Like, I personally trust that the school will call me if
Right.
something happens. Like, it's not like you don't know where your kid is when they go to school. Like,
Yeah.
on the bus, they go to school, they come home.
But my kid missed the bus at middle school, I don't know, a year or two ago, and she didn't have a phone.
There's no.
It was challenging
Oh,
because
yes.
like no one knew what to do because she didn't have a cell phone. And finally, someone took her to the office to call me. So I mean, yes. And so when you have an experience like that, I mean, I waited till my daughter was 13, and she got her phone when she was 13. But I can tell you, I was one of a few. And then you have something like that happen, so then it's like, what do you do? I mean, it was fine. It was no big deal, but
And it's
It's
so
like-
hard
it's
now
so
because
hard.
everybody has,
Yeah, no.
you know, Wi-Fi. So now they got the internet at their
middle
fingertips.
school makes
so-
it hard too because if they want to stay after school and then like they walk somewhere, I mean, my kids don't do any of that, but a lot of kids do that, and then they're texting their parents for a ride. So it becomes hard in middle school. That's all I'm saying.
I know, and I also think we're a different generation. Like,
Yeah.
I would let my kid walk home from Davisville if they had to. Like,
Yeah, my
I feel like
kid
you're
could not.
responsible enough. Like,
Yeah, but my kid could never walk home from where I live to where the school
yeah, I mean,
is. So I mean, there's like pros and cons, and then my
you still
other
need
flip on that is like,
phones.
you know, part of it is because all we're doing is technology all the time. So now we've converted school into doing a ton of technology on the Chromebooks. You know, where they're seeing that we're using technology 24/7. So of course they want to be on their phones. So maybe another tactic would be to be less Chromebook time in addition to no cell phones in school.
All right,
You know,
just lock it down while you're in school. You can't
I'm
use it.
just saying.
Yeah, no, I
because,
know.
You know,
No, I
that
know.
then
It's
they
like we're
think
in
they're
deep-
on
yes, finding the right
technology all
balance.
the time.
Right.
It's
Well,
really
And then to say
challenging.
not,
Totally.
and then to say to stay off your cell phone.
And then, exactly.
And they are
Susanna.
saying like kids need more time being outdoors, what
Right.
that does to
Yeah.
improve. So there's all of
Was there-
those.
Yeah.
Anything else other than the vaping that you wanted to mention? I know we went off on the exit ramp on the vaping.
No, I think tied to that, and I don't know, it's just like bathroom safety, but I don't know if maybe that PASS system is helping with that.
I think it is. I mean, just from things we hear from kids,
Yeah.
you know, it's helping. Not still, you know, not perfect. It's hard.
Well, thank you all for coming. Really good meeting. I will send out the minutes next week so that we can all see where we are and where we're heading. And we'll start on the assessment. And may the meeting be adjourned?
So moved.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, no. I don't think I was in my, unless someone backs out, maybe I did, but I was like, last year I think someone backed out, that's why I got to go.
Okay.
So the meetings will be at 4:30.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
I love your